Welcome everybody to another episode of the Be Fearless podcast. If you're watching this video in Facebook, don't forget to give us some stars and likes, and also leave us some comments of what you think about this interview. Today, our guest is an amazing person. He's a filmmaker hailing from Northern California, now thriving in the bustling creativity of Los Angeles. Skydiver, motorcycle enthusiast, and passionate storyteller. His life experiences are woven into his films, including his newest feature, SkyFly, where the protagonist battles alcoholism, much as he did in real life. Embracing an entrepreneurial mindset doesn't doesn't make films. He understands the business of show business. His entrepreneurial journey began in 2017, driven by a desire to create positive change. His first venture, helping apartment complexes saving money and reduce their carbon footprint. Living in a vibrant tapestry of Los Angeles, he finds inspiration in its diversity and endless opportunities. For him, the city of Los Angeles is more than just a backdrop, it's a place where dreams take flight, much like the characters in his films. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the one and only Gary Smith. Welcome,
Wow.
Gary.
It's so good to be here. Thank you for that incredible intro.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I almost spoil it because I almost say your name.
Oh, good.
Yes. I always
Well, I
leave
appreciate it.
I'll always leave and start, the intro and let the audience kind of like get interested in who is this person talking about, and then
Yeah.
I reveal the name at last.
Well,
But
speaking of,
welcome.
speaking of names, I love the name of this podcast.
Oh,
Be
thank
Fearless.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Love that.
Yes, I think Be Fearless came alive in 2020. So it comes from the place of trying to inspire people to become fearless and unlock their potential. So thank
Yes.
you so much for being here today, sharing your story, inspiring people to do the same. For the audience that is out there that have no idea who Gary Smith is, tell us, who was Gary Smith growing up and what was his dream?
Oh, wow. Gosh, growing up, I would say Gary Smith was a little bit in La La Land. My mom said I had a big imagination. You could just leave me in my room for hours with my toys, and not a whole lot has changed. I always loved sports, big into sports, baseball, riding dirt bikes, things like that. I'd say I got the acting bug probably around high school. That got pretty cemented when I told my high school football coach I was not going to play football that year, my senior year, to do a play. And you should have seen the look on his face. Through my 20s, I'd say, God, that was a very long extended party phase. As I'm sure we'll dive into, I'm totally happy to talk about it. I've battled alcoholism and addiction, for a good deal of my life. And so right around 29 was the first time I got sober. That lasted for about 5.5 years. Unfortunately, did have a relapse, and I'm actually going this coming July. I'll be a year sober again. And so right around 2020 as well, similar to when you started your podcast. I don't know about you, maybe it was a little bit of due to COVID, but when COVID hit, regardless of how anybody feels about COVID or how we handled it, one thing that it did to me was it made me realize, wow, anything can happen at any freaking moment. Now is the time. The time is now.
Yeah.
Put up or shut up. Stop saying it. So that's when I wrote SkyFly. Tore my MCL skydiving, go figure, in Halloween 2020. So that postponed things a little bit. But 2021, we casted it, we shot it. Post-production has been a long journey. Here we are, 2024. I feel I've grown, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. So you definitely got to live your dream.
Yeah, every day. Sorry, my hair paper. I'm alive. I'm healthy. And I'm going after what I want. I truly believe it.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, how was that process of developing yourself through, despite of the obstacles and all the struggles that you had? How was that Gary went from that play back in high school and then still pursuing your stream towards filmmaking?
Yeah, I really enjoy everything between action and cut. When you're in the moment and you're just really, you know, you get to be somebody else. That's fun. You get to make believe and do this character. But just as much, I also enjoy kind of the whole process of creating it, writing it, producing it, directing it, being in it. And so I think it was something that I always knew I wanted to be in movies, TV movies, all that since high school. But like I said, in my 20s, it's just really partying and alcohol was more important. Sure, I did little tiny things here and there. I might have had an agent here and there, an audition here and there. I made a little funny video here and there, but never ever did I put on my big boy pants and get serious. And so I think first for me was getting sober. I think the most important thing is, finding out what your kryptonite is for anybody. That could be food, it could be porn, it could be so many things. Normally we just think of the substances. For me, it was alcohol and cocaine, period, end of story. And thankfully when I don't drink, I don't want to go get cocaine. And so those kind of go hand in hand for me. And so that was my biggest kryptonite. Second, I think, we all need to kind of find our North Star, because in this day and age, everyone's fighting for your attention, whether it's your neighbor or your family or social media or the billions of advertisers that are spending billions of dollars. There's never been more of a fight for your attention than there is right now. So for me, it's all about figuring out what your kryptonite is and then getting really focused. And, I'm happy to say that I feel I'm the most focused I've ever been now. But yeah, there's been a ton of hurdles, ton of obstacles. I've learned a lot. And I'm excited to get this movie out there, and I'm excited to use all that I've learned on this movie towards the next movie.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned something interesting, and is that, there was a period of your life that you were not fully committed to your goals, your dreams. What was the trigger? What was the moment that made you realize, no, I need to make a change?
Well, it was probably kind of when I decided to get sober because I ended up in the hospital. I was 29 years old. I just drank so much. It was Halloween at that time. So November 1st, I woke up. I was supposed to go to work and I just checked myself into the hospital. I needed an IV. I thought I was going to die. And I was there. My body froze up. I think I had a panic attack. My body was almost ready to go into seizure, like for, withdrawal. And me and this nurse had this heart to heart. I was crying, and it was just, I've hit many times that should have been rock bottom. I've had many other situations that most people would have got sober from, but that was finally the one that did it for me. And then around that same time, I think was when I started to realize, okay, now you've got what it takes to go ahead and go forward. Fast forward though, I'd say the next kick in the butt was COVID, so I'd say between those two things, it was kind of like, okay, the time is now.
Now, how, I know there was like a short span of time when you decided, okay, now is the time. I'm going to commit to myself, to my dreams. I'm going to go for it. How did you kind of like build that entrepreneurial mindset to go after your dream?
Yeah, I think it does need an entrepreneurial mindset. My dad was definitely an entrepreneur off and on. And he kind of raised me, both of my parents raised me strictly with the idea of you can do whatever you want, period, end of story. If you put your mind to it, you can do it, and you should go after whatever you want. It should be a combination of what you're good at and what you enjoy, and hopefully you can blend the two. And I've had the entrepreneurial bug off and on as well. I definitely love working for yourself, being your own boss, creating your own opportunities. So my 9 to 5, you could say, that I still have right now is that you kind of briefly mentioned, is my janitorial business. We help apartment complexes save money on their waste bill, become more green. Nothing huge, just me and a part-time employee. And so I'm already ready for that. It's built into me, and I've been doing that for, about 5 years. And then for the movie, I didn't want to wait for permission. And I thought to myself, well, I'd rather make this on a slightly lower level if I need to than sit around and try to find investors or get a studio to give me the green light. And so I love entrepreneurship for example, I've never not stopped at a lemonade stand. It's something I'm the most proud of. If I see a lemonade stand, I will go make a U-turn and I will pay 500% more than what they are charging. And I will tell those kids, keep it up. I love it. And then I'll take a sip of their usually not so great lemonade. And so I love entrepreneurship. I love taking it into your own hands. And so for me, the movie is I'm learning a lot with it. And, you know, there's just so many different ways to do distribution and marketing. But it's exciting. It's scary a little bit, but hey, be fearless. Let's go.
Yes, be fearless. And I love that. I love that. So let's talk now how SkyFly came to life.
Mhm.
How did you came up with the script? Like,
Mhm.
tell us that process.
Sure. So I was taught to write what you know, and so SkyFly is heavily inspired by true events. It's basically, and I think most people's lives, if you condense it into a an hour and a half movie, would be interesting. I don't think I'm the most interesting person in the world. However, one, it's therapeutic to me. It was like, wow, I'm putting this all into a story. Okay, it means something to me, and it was just the easier way for me to write, and so. First, I read a lot of screenwriting books. Save the Cat. It's the best one out there. Another great book is called The Idea. And I read them multiple times. And it took probably about 6 months to get to a draft that I was comfortable with. It was the first feature film I had written. And I just wanted it to be entertaining. I wanted it to be funny. But of course, it does have drama in there because my life has some drama. So it's a comedy drama. But yeah, so I really at times you got to lock yourself in a dark room and just make yourself right. And it sucks. And it's for me, it's really tough, to be honest. But when you're done with it, it's incredibly rewarding.
I love that you said that because being an author myself is I know how difficult it is to kind of to put all those thoughts together and just like make them make sense in
Right.
pages.
What is your book? Do you have a book?
Yes, like you can see right here, Dauntless, creating your blueprint for success is the first one, and the second one it gets launched in April 13th.
Hey,
So, and
you're launching on
yes,
April 13th. That's my premiere. Look at us. Yeah.
no, April 15th, March 13th. I'm sorry,
Oh,
March is
March
next
13th. Got
2 days. In two
Okay.
days. I'm
Okay.
sorry. That's the thing. We talk behind the scenes. We talk about your launch. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking about. April 13th. Sorry.
Well, congratulations to you.
Well,
And yeah, I mean, a lot of people,
thank
I
you.
think, some maybe they do it, maybe they don't, but like writing might be easy. It's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and I love that you said that how you explained it, like so in a candid way and without lying. That for you the process was difficult because for some people it could be very easy, and for many people it could be definitely a challenge.
Sure.
But the thing is that you push yourself through
Yeah.
and focus and say, okay, let me just draft this until I am happy with it,
Yes.
right? And that's so important. And I wanted just to underline that part because people kind of like get stuck on this is so difficult, I'm not gonna make it, and then I'm not. They just give up.
Right.
So I admire the fact that you pushed through and then came with this script. Tell us what is like the main message. What is the plot of SkyFly without telling us of any spoiler, but just tell us what it is about.
Well, first, thank you. And SkyFly, it's about a skydiver named Danny Jones, and he drinks too much, parties too much, and he's afraid to skydive. He had a very scary parachute malfunction, and so his rivals at the drop zone that love to give him a hard time challenge him to a roller hockey tournament since he can't compete in the sky anymore. And so Danny assembles his team, his crew of misfits that live and work at the drop zone so they can compete. Along the way, along his road to sobriety and redemption in the sky, he falls in love with his Brazilian jump coach, Rafaela, who's training him to get his ass back up in the sky. And that's what it's about.
That
and
sounds it.
Yeah, more or less. There's more to it, but that's the elevator pitch, I guess. And then, the underlining theme that I really wanted to have in there was the alcoholism and, and addiction and stuff like that. And so, hopefully people see the film, and number one, I just want them to be entertained. Number two, maybe inspired to make a skydive, and just as maybe 2.5 would be, if anybody's battling addiction, alcoholism, know you're not alone. I think it's an absolute plague, because it's if it's not you, it's probably somebody in your family. And the worst thing about it is that it affects everybody. I don't know if you've ever watched Intervention. Me and my girlfriend are hooked on it. We watch it all the time. And sometimes we're like, why are we watching this? It's so sad. But the point is what's so sad is you look at the families in the Intervention and they're just torn apart. And so it's such a plague. And I'll wrap it up with, my point is that, again, this is my story, and, hopefully it inspires people on some level, and hopefully they enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for actually writing a script and bringing it into, the film industry, and with such an amazing message and cast. But this is not only although it's like the latest and newest work that you're doing, this is not the only work that you have done. You also had you participated in Birdies, which is a film that was released in 2022. And then you also were the director of Tall Boys. Talk to us about that experience.
Yeah, Birdies was great. That's a real fun golf comedy that we shot in 21 and came out in 22. They did really well with it, and I'm actually set to go film the sequel with them this June. And they actually put in a skydiving sequence to the movie because they knew I could help out with that. We're about 85% going to shoot, so we'll see. I don't want to say for sure. The director is still talking to me, but so anyway, we're supposed to be doing that. That was fun. Tall Boys was actually what I wrote, directed, produced, and starred in right when I first got sober back in, I guess that was 2015, 2016 or so. It was a pilot, more or less, for a TV show idea I had, and we also broke it down into like 2-minute videos for YouTube or whatever. I didn't really do much with it. I didn't really distribute it or get the word out much. However, it was such a learning experience. That was my film school for this film. And, this is my film school for my next film. But Tall Boys was really fun. It was kind of a similar concept. I wrote it from personal experiences, and it was just 3 lovable losers, alcoholics. I would almost compare it to the show Workaholics-ish, So yeah, Tall Boys was great. Learned a lot from there. That's a great group of filmmakers, or Birdies is what I meant to say. And Tall Boys was a ton of fun too. And I put a handful of people that were in Tall Boys also in SkyFly, and SkyFly, yeah, like just such a great cast.
Awesome. Let me ask you, because I see that your work is so diverse, and although you also like push comedy into it or get involved in comedy projects, what else do you foresee working on or developing in the future?
Well, I'm actually writing the next script right now, and I'm 40 pages in, and I plan to have it done by the end of the month, where I just keep looking at the calendar. I'm not sure I'm going to do that, because I really want my next project ready for when this one comes out, so that if anybody, investors, producers, agents, managers, casting, you name it, say, hey, what's next? I want to say this.
Yeah.
And so that next project is a high concept comedy, no drama, straight comedy. And it has to do with baseball. And unfortunately, I can just leave it at there because I don't have the pitch fine tuned enough to do it justice. I'll blubber all over. So I'd love to go into that in more detail in the near future. But yeah, so I am working on that. And I'm really excited for that, because I cannot wait to leverage everything I've learned on this, the things we did right, the things we did wrong. And I want to do it on a much bigger level. And one thing I will go into, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to crowdfund just the pre-production money. So I don't know, 25, 50K, just to get a casting director, a line producer, little miscellaneous things like that, so that we can go and get the rest through equity investors. And, I want to get it up to $1 million or so at least, depending on who we work with, maybe it'll be much bigger. But yeah, so I hope, if all goes well, that we're filming that in 2025.
That's fantastic. That's an amazing goal. Yeah. Let me ask you, because I can tell that definitely that entrepreneurial mindset is right there working towards movie making. Do you find it? How do you find how you find it? It's easier for you to switch hats between being a director and an actor, or a writer and directing. Like, how do you cope or manage to make that mental switch and stay in line?
That's a great question. And it's both sides of my brains. You have to find that dance. The writing, directing, and acting, for the most part, is the same part of the brain to me, and those all blend really well and they all complement each other really well. The producing is that other side. And, to me, a producer, when somebody asks, what is a producer? I say a producer just, am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
A producer
Yeah.
fucking producer fucking gets it done, period, end of story. And what does that mean? It means anything and everything. And so it's exhausting. Producing is incredibly hard. And so, but to me, I produce so that I can write, direct, and act. And so they do all go hand in hand, but producing would be the bottom of the toll because it's the hardest work. And, ultimately I want to be on screen. I want to be writing. I want to be directing. And so for me to go back and forth between my head, I write a ton of notes, and I do a lot of organizing on my computers. And I think it also comes down to a little bit of self-discipline and just, really making yourself do it and finding out what times of the day you might be better with certain things. For example, I work best on producer type stuff early in the morning. It's when I'm the most fresh to give that some more energy and more attention, especially because it's something I don't want to do maybe. And that goes back to a great book called Swallow the Frog, which basically just means do what you got to do first, get it out of the way. And that, you got to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. And so, to answer your question, it's an ongoing battle. And if I ever find out the golden answer, I'll let you know, but I don't know. It's hard.
But thank you for your honesty.
Yeah.
I like that you said that you find certain hours of the day easier for you to work with certain tasks.
Yes.
And I think that not everybody identified that. And then when they planning doing the time management, they just like pen in all the things that they need to do, or all the things that they want to do on that day. And then they get frustrated because they find themselves working on something else and not what they pen down. And I think that what you just said is part of the answer. I mean, your brain kind of like gets adjusted or can work in a different time frame for different things. And I love that you said that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, we are approaching almost to the end of the interview, but I would like you to tell or share with the audience 3 things that they can start doing today to improve that entrepreneurial mindset and work towards their dreams.
Ooh, that's fun. Oh man. So 3 things to improve the entrepreneurial mindset. And what was the last part of it?
Or work towards their dream.
Work towards their dreams. I think first of it kind of goes back to what I touched on a little bit earlier, was be honest with yourself and find out what your kryptonite is. Because if you can't tackle that first, you don't have a chance at anything else. End of story. Maybe you already have. That's great. Okay. But let's be honest with ourselves and say, okay, what is something I can do to make myself healthier? Because you're going to need that energy, that mental clarity, that focus to get going. So that's number 1, always. Number 2, I think, is also similar to the North Star. So figuring out what is it that you truly, truly, truly want, because it's going to be so incredibly difficult that it better be something that you truly, truly want. I actually have something I keep up on my whiteboard here. It says, true to my where, flexible with how, strong with why, the time is now. So the where is a little bit of the North Star. Okay. So where are you going to go? Flexible with how is kind of like Tony Robbins once said, he loves getting his objectives without doing his to-do list. So you might have a big old to-do list, but you got to be flexible with how. You don't necessarily, and you don't need to know how to get it going. So a somewhat okay plan, right, violently executed now is better than a quote unquote, I'm air quoting everybody right now, perfect plan executed, 5 weeks from now. And then strong with your why is really why. Why do you want to get to your where? I think it's, it's got to be something deep in your core because of how hard it's going to be. You want to make the world a better place. You want to provide for your family, etc. And the time is now, always, 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 always now. And a story, period. So I would tell them, and a good example of it is for me, for my North Star, I want to make movies, but I also want financial freedom. However, making movies is just above financial freedom, because if financial freedom was just above making movies, I'd be doing something else to get rich, because there's millions of ways to get to financial freedom quicker and better than making movies. Thankfully, if I'm successful with making movies, and there's going to be other opportunities, et cetera, that I should create financial freedom. And I do try, things to help my, that along the way. But my point of that is that you really got to have that North Star so that you stay focused in this world of constant attention, people trying to grab. So I don't know, hopefully there's something in there.
Well, no, truly, there's a lot in there. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your struggles and your story with us, with the audience. Now, where people can connect with you.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on that is I'm still learning, right? So
yes. But I love that. You know what? Let me interrupt you. I love that you said that before you move it to the next part. I love that you said that, because the human being, and me, at least in my opinion, we never stop learning.
Never.
We are learning every single day.
Yes.
We never stop learning, and we never stop creating.
Yes.
So
yes. And
thank you for those words.
The last thing I want to do is come across like I'm on a high horse. I'm trying to inspire, give a little bit of my stuff that works for me. But I am human. I'm learning, and I that want to learn, right? You got to want to learn. You got to, So, sorry, what was your last question?
No, where people can connect with you.
Oh, right. Yes. So the movie website is skyflythemovie.com. I'm on Instagram at GarySmith700. And I check my emails. That's getsomefilm@gmail.com. So got a few ways.
I will add that into the description of this video.
No, skyflythemovie.com, Instagram. Those are the two best.
Yes. Well, Gary, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your story, sharing your upcoming movie, SkyFly. I definitely don't want to miss that one. I know it's going to be awesome. Yes. And you guys, just let us know what you think about. Like, tell us in the comments, right? And again, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Well, people, don't forget to follow Gary Smith, connect with him, go to the website for the movie, skyflythemovie.com, and save the date for the premiere, okay? It's coming out to the public on April 18th. Premiere is going to be April 13th. I'm pretty sure you're going to love it, okay? In the meantime, until the next, don't forget to unlock your potential and be fearless. I'll see you soon.